This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Marie Catherine Massie.
Yeah, so on top of like having the wonderful experience of going with my friends to like two or three different type of church in the Okanagan Valley, I also got to meet different denomination on set. Since I moved to the US, I got to work with two different productions where they were actually praying in the morning at the safety meeting. And that was really fascinating for me because I've never encountered that in Canada on any other film sets. And also a little nerve wracking. I would say that I kind of excused myself just because everyone was holding hand in the morning and they would ask a random person to like lead the prayer. And I was just so scared that if they pointed at me, like I don't know what to say. I don't know.
That might have been a comedic scene. No, so would you say that, guys, why don't you pray and I'm going to go and pee, or I got to make a phone call, or how did you excuse yourself?
They would just go and like kind of like do the circles, and either I would like keep eating my breakfast like in the cafeteria, or I would uh go charge some batteries, or like like make myself busy and like
And no one really stopped you. This is very important for your soul.
I was
honor,
no,
safety.
I was not the only one, and there was like a few more people that were kind of excusing themselves for either like religious beliefs or any awkwardness. Like me, it was like, well, I'm definitely not a Christian, but also definitely not wanting to. I want to respect people, but I don't want to be leading a prayer. I don't know.
Yeah, especially if you say something, then they might be, you said it wrong.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it was really beautiful, like whatever, like the cast and crew like were sharing, and it was very long too. It was like lasting like 15 minutes.
Oh, the prayer in the beginning?
Yeah,
15?
Yeah.
What state was that in?
I should probably not say.
No, I mean, okay, tell me, it was in the South?
No, not that one.
Midwest?
No,
it wasn't New York.
There was no New York. No.
Okay.
No, the other one I worked on, I think it was only the first time, the first morning before we started, that the director blessed the set, kind of like asking God to help us like make the movie. It was not like a recurring thing, but it was like that was in the South, and that was the first time for me I heard that on set. So it definitely like gave it a tone for like like working in the US, and yeah, like I got to meet like a lot of like different people. Also, sometimes when we sat for meals, they would pray before we ate, and which is not really something that I've ever encountered in Canada, because as I said, Quebec rejected religion in the 60s.
Right, and I think even in the US that's not that common anymore. It might be maybe practiced among some communities, maybe in the South or in the Bible Belt type areas. But in general, I think people who call themselves Christians, mainline denominations, they don't. Yeah, you would read when you join those churches, or in their literature, it will be there, pray before a meal, give thanks to the Lord. But when it comes to practicing that, I don't know if people are really into it anymore.
I think maybe in the South.
Maybe,
from like the experience I had.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Even at the restaurant, I saw people even doing it at the restaurant. So I don't know. Maybe it's like another universe in the South.
Yeah, a little more putting the faith into their practice.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. What was your experience? Have you ever like encountered that on film sets?
No.
No?
No, film sets, never. No. And I think because, see, in Islamic countries, these kind of things happen, right? And
wait, so do you take a break like 5 times a day on the film set to go to
no,
prayers?
No. In Islamic, I think countries, when a project is launched, there is some sort of religious text being read or some sort of prayers done. That's it, right? And everyone usually in respect, because among Muslims there are people who practice, there are people who are nominal. It's just like any other religion.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who are non-Muslim, say part of the team. You just stand still, and bow your head, or just stay quiet.
Yeah, for sure.
Usually you're not asked to say that because the prayers and the Islamic text is in Arabic. And say you are in a country, it's Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't understand Arabic or speak Arabic.
Yeah.
So you don't want to cause an embarrassment. They would usually point or invite a guy who's trained in Islamic texts at an academy.
Mm-hmm.
They usually know Arabic fluently. And it's their job to read and pray in Arabic. And the other people, no matter how educated you are, you might really not know that fluency. So your job is just to be there. So it's not that you'll say, hey, why don't you read it? Or why don't you pray today? Because it's a total different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's done. It's just like one time thing, usually. But that 5 times prayer is common among people who have certain kinds of jobs. As an example, say there's a cop directing traffic from 9 to 5. I don't think he or she can really say 5 times prayer because then you have to have somebody stand there or do something, or if depending like what kind of, if you're in a car monitoring, you have to chase over speeding people. So if you're by yourself, I don't think you can do that.
Because in Canada, you can take breaks. Like, I'm not sure for cops, but I just know, like, my mom, like, is, like, director of a nonprofit. And if she has, like, Muslim employees, like, they have the right to just, like, take the break to go do the prayer, how many they need, and have a room and, you know.
It might be different from a profession to profession. For example, teachers.
Yeah.
If someone is teaching younger kids, can they leave younger kids by themselves? No, it might be very chaotic. And a doctor, let's say if a cardiologist, sometimes cardiologists I have heard perform surgeries for straight 48 hours. And can they leave that surgery in the middle? See, that's the thing. Yeah, if you're working for, let's say, a shopkeeper, they own their business, or if you're working for an organization where there's a room for you to take those breaks, then it's different. So I think it's very subjective. 5 times is not something that could be easily done. Just imagine if you are an actor in a series.
Yeah.
And series usually in every country, even in Pakistan, is always rushed because the producer has like, oh my God, my money, my money, my money, act. And they also do sometimes 16-hour shoot, 20-hour shoot, depending who have to finish. And if people go and break for 5 times to pray, I don't think they'll be able to finish that, right?
Yeah. No,
or their producer will allow it. So some things are, the religion can't be lived out because some religious practices might be in a conflict with the state law, civil law, and that's around the world, I think. Now, Saudi Arabia, which is more like authentic Islamic state, I don't know what happens there because that's a total different country. But the other Islamic countries that have higher Islamic influence, but their civil laws or their constitution is not Islamic, there it's very difficult because the system is not designed that way. The system still wants you 9 to 5 or 4 to 8 with 2 days off. And let's say a bank cashier, right? So will he say, oh, I'm going to be off for 5 times in a day, so no cash available? I don't think the bank owners or board of directors will like that. So it's it's not like that. And also this sorry, in the film set in the US, the sets I have been, and even my own set, we don't talk about religion at all. Because the thing is, sometimes religion can be a trigger. The religion, it doesn't matter what religion. The religion has given a lot of wounds to a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and still do. So the other thing is, if you are of a different belief, I am of a different belief. My focus should be on your talent or what you bring to the table. Why should I be concerned about your belief system or your ethnicity or cultural heritage if your job in the moment is to act out a scene brilliantly?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have a friend, he owns a restaurant in Manhattan, Chelsea, actually. And interestingly,
Which one?
I'll tell you after the show. Why, you want to go there to eat?
No,
Or
I'm
you
just
wanna-
curious because
Hey,
I
I'll
spent
give.
a lot of time in Chelsea. But
Oh,
go
cool.
on.
So I saw his staff, and I said, I really like that one of his cooks still is or was a Muslim guy, the other one was not. Then diversity, the appearance wise, like he had an African gentleman, he had a Mexican gentleman employee, he had a Bangladeshi guy, and he had another Bangladeshi of a different religion. He had like these people keep going in and out, so it's not that always this perfect diversity was there. But then there's a white guy, and then there's an Indian dude. There was once an Indian young woman there, uh, and even his clients, because that area is very diverse, right? Seventh half.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, it's so beautiful because these people don't fight. They don't argue over religion. I never saw them saying that you're wrong, I'm right, and they eat the dinner, the evening meal together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no fuss there over.
That's what I like about New York.
Yeah,
There's like so much multiculturalism.
and if one of them is a vegetarian, they'll just get vegetarian food. The other one is a meat eater, and they're meat eater. That's fine. So you don't question each other why. You just respect each other's choices because your end goal
Mm-hmm.
in that position is to make your customers happy with providing them a delicious food and a great service.
Mm-hmm.
So can I really that's it goes back to the same idea. Maybe it's a cultural thing embedded in me where I was saying that people from Pakistan usually they don't care about associating or having people of their background work for them.
Yeah.
All they care about is that person's addition beneficial or not, so it doesn't end up becoming a liability.
Yeah,
'Cause-
honestly, on set, like I love having people from all over the world because it's fun to have like different perspectives, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes, like I'll give you an example where I think like it just okay. So the movie The Mark, it's about a war between French and English people 80 years from now, and then the war goes very, very badly, and a totalitarian government is put in place, and so they put all the French on one side of the wall, the English on the other side of the wall, and they hunt for bilingual people. And so I created this world that was like very harsh for like they have castes, so like the grays only have like horses and like candles and fires. And the lead actor that I hired to play the role of like the bad guy, who you learn eventually in the movie, because like at first you think he's the hero, but he's not. He's like this double agent. He's like, oh yeah, that's literally like how it was when I grew up, because he describes himself as being from Transylvania. But I guess like I'm not sure like of his age, but I think he grew up in like this one of those like Eastern European country where like he was telling me they only had like power or TV for like 1 hour during the day, you know? Um so he could relate to the story in like a totally like he's like for you it's dystopian, but for me
Right.
it's just like my childhood, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So that's where like I think it's so interesting to like bring people from all over the world and like just have like a different take on like the story you wrote, which I was like, oh my god, something like that would never happen. But no, actually, like things like like totalitarian regime
Mm.
happened all around the world. And you definitely have to like study your history and your politics to make sure that you know when and where that happened. But I just did not expect that,
Mhm.
from him. Do you know a little bit
No,
about
I
him?
have no clue. I have only seen Les Mis. That's it.
Okay. So basically, like, okay, there was like First Nations that were there for a very long time.
Mm.
And then like the French came and the English came, and for a while, like, Quebec was New France. It was going all the way down to Louisiana, all the way down to British Columbia. And then there was like the huge war, and the British conquered the French.
Mm.
And then Quebec became just like a colony, just part of, it was not Canada at the time. It
Mhm.
was
A
what was
French
it called?
colony.
I thought it no, but I thought there was Au Canada, Bas Canada, I think. We gotta look this up. But yeah, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so like tension started like kind of like very early, especially that being like conquered, the French Canadians, my ancestor, they didn't want to give up their language.
Mm.
And in the treaties, like if you like find them from I can't remember the name of the lord, but he basically wrote like assimilate, 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 just like take their religion away from them, like Catholicism, and take like their language away from them. So like, all bigger instances were done in English. So for example, if you were a French Canadian and you committed a crime or not, and you had to go to court, well, court was going to be old in English.
Mhm.
So, and my ancestors were very, very hard headed, and they decided that they were going to speak French and they were going to keep speaking French. So, at the time, the Catholic priests were going from like house to house, and it was called in French, it was called La Revanche des Berceaux. So, the revenge of the cribs,
Mm.
I guess. So, they were insisting that women should have many, 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 many children.
Oh.
So they were able to have like a very high like French Canadian population, in order to like not be like swallowed by like the English Canadian population.
Mhm.
And so that worked for a while, and then like another big example of the tensions was like the patriots.
Mm.
So in like 1837 and 1838, I believe, patriots like tried to raise against the British. They were like, no, we want like, but they were farmers and they were literally like kind of like fighting with like old guns that they found from somewhere, and just like farm equipment.
Mhm.
So they actually won the first battle,
Oh, cool.
because I think it was per surprise, but after that they were crushed and they were made an example by the
Mm.
British government. So like they were hung at La Prison du Pied du Courant, I believe, in Montreal, which kind of became like a venue for like festivals and social events. Now it's crazy how you can like repurpose
Yeah.
a place. But yeah, like there's like a long rich history. Like I'm just giving you like a few example, but there's still like tensions between like French and English, and I just like imagine what happened if like later down the line, there's like this. And I think the movie can resonate with a lot of other cultures, right? Like it could be like two religions and you put a wall in the middle, like kind of like inspire myself from the Berlin Wall as well. Like I went to read like about all those different things. And even like in our day and age, like there's definitely like multiple realities that we can like glue
Mhm.
kind of on this film. But it's really crazy how like, yeah, like people in this world, in this film, people come to believe that the other is the enemy, right? Or
Yeah.
like in this, the bilingual is the enemy, and it doesn't make any sense, right?
You'll see that once you see abrogation, and because I know you haven't seen it, but yeah, the others as an enemy is also a theme there, and the characters, one character's name is David, but its original pronunciation. The idea is David is fighting with the system, the Goliath. Goliath giant, because the system is.
That's your feature,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So cool. Yeah, that's great. I think Uh, that's a very, yeah, very inspiring
Yeah.
short here.
And I'm like really excited to like develop a longer version with the two indigenous screenwriters
Mhm.
because I really wanted to like bring their vision as well
Mhm.
in this like dystopian Canadian world. Like where would indigenous people be placed? Like what different, like uh I don't want to say tribes, but like different factions like
Mhm.
would like form themselves,
Mhm.
like, and would some of them want to work for the regime to have the power, who knows, like who knows where it's gonna go. But yeah, like definitely like a very interesting subject to I also want to go around, like I might have these opportunities, I've been in talks to go to high schools
Mhm.
and present the movie and have like a talk about like bilingualism
That's a great idea. Yeah.
and see like how the kids, because basically like when I wrote the movie it was just me, it was just a feeling.
Mhm.
So it was a feeling of me. Whenever I go back to Quebec, I'm like not really French Canadian anymore. I'm not Quebecois anymore because like I live in the US, I live in Vancouver for such a long time. So like I don't really like belong to the gang, and like some people will make a joke and they're like, "Oh, you sold your soul to go to Hollywood or whatever." And whenever I was in British Columbia, I'm also the Quebecer, So there was, and my whole life is like a French English, French English. My phone has trouble. My autocorrect is all over the place. It's insane. You would see. It's like I don't even understand which language it's speaking. But yeah, it was kind of like this space where like doesn't exist, this bilingual space of like not really belonging to a place or to another. So that's kind of like how I started writing the movie. And also when I used to be a tree planter, I would say on camps you'd see very quickly, earlier you were talking about how groups like divide themselves.
Right.
So you'd see like the French kind of like all go together and the English all do go together, and just a few people would go like from one side to the other. And I put that wall, but for me, like the wall is really in our head. And there's a notion of having like the two solitudes. And I think we should just like break down the wall and like be able to kind of like talk to each other. And it's definitely like much better than it used to be, but there's still like you can still feel the tensions, especially like more with Quebec and Ontario. I didn't feel it as much when I was in British Columbia, but there's like, yeah, there's an insane amount of tension. Like I've literally been thrown things when I was in Ontario once because we had like a Quebec plate. People threw like garbage at us. It was like really sad, and yeah, it didn't make me feel very good. But yeah, like I think there's so much more we could do, and especially also like including indigenous people and including like other cultures, like which we're trying to do, but it can always be better.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. There's a lot of work needs to be done.
Yeah, so this film was very important for me because I really want to start a dialogue, and the movie is also bilingual, by the way. It's both in French and English. And I did subtitle it in both French and English, which is making it a little hard to place in festivals, but that's another story. Which is like literally in two languages. But yeah, I thought like the movie was very like close to the subject of this podcast because it's all about like listening, and all about like listening to the other and like really listening to them, and like having the dialogue, right? And I do think that we should do that definitely like more in Canada. I know we're trying to, but
in the US too. But I think we need a lot of such products and projects that bring people together, because we are so used to of having uh, seeing movies and shows that would show people of the same interest together and then becoming either a couple or saving the universe through a group of people, which is a great idea. It's not, nothing is wrong with that. But I think the world we live in nowadays needs more understanding about uh, diversity within our communities or within our individuals, because two people could look alike But again, their belief system might be so different because of their choices, because of their influence, because of their understanding, but epiphanies. Because some people grow mature, say, differently early, and some later, and some people go to different school, they become different. And one thing, someone I think there's one writer, really accomplished writer, that he reviewed my feature online, and he said, "Oh, it doesn't have that kind of happy ending we are used to have seen." Because I think nowadays we might not have. I don't know if we ever had that kind of happy ending in a romantic couple that we have seen in the movies. It's overly done because it's not easy to be with another person. Like it's not easy to be with another community member who is not like us, because we all are different. Even if our skin tone looks the same, you grew up in the same household, there'll be a kid who'll say I like red color, and the other person might say I don't like red color, right? So how to develop the understanding of consensus, and because consensus then develops some sort of stability and harmony among people, whether they are part of a household, whether they are a couple, or whether they are a community. And I think that's needed more.
Do you think we need a rom-com between like a Republican and someone who's like more liberal, and like they learn how to like
I don't know. There might be. I don't know. Usually the way we do is, so for example, our rom-com roommates, it's not rom-com, it's situational comedy. But still, so my character is dumb in terms of my character is not politically correct. My character is not sensitive about a lot of things, and he might use phrase or vocabulary or even things. Now, of course, it's a comedy, so an action or a gesture no one does in a hallway in front of anyone else, but they might do that when somebody is not watching them. So yesterday, because I went to my friend who's overseeing the post production of season 4, so he showed me something, and I was like, no one's going to do that. But when the camera is there, you are, if there's a solo scene or scene between two characters, you are doing something that you would not do in front of the public, but you're showing that on a bigger screen because that's the truth. That's the way we humans are. It's like early on you said, "Oh, what if you hit tribulation? Turbulence. Yeah. When you're naked in
the shower,
in the shower of an airplane, right?
Yeah.
And but if you see someone showering in a plane? No. But if that's on the screen, you have to put a camera to show, okay, this is the way it's going to look like if there's a tribulation.
I mean, when you're telling me the story, the problem is as a filmmaker, I had the entire scene already cut in my head, you know?
See, yeah.
Like, because it's a comedy in itself.
It is, yeah. And it is funny, right? So you see that character. So a lot of times what happens is the choices we show on camera in a comedy are not politically correct. But then I have a roommate who is, first of all, our choice is that she's a female. She wants to be an actor. She moved from the Midwest because people in the Midwest, the idea is they grew up with more traditional norms and traditions. And now she's wise. Franklin's character is not, right? He's dumb. And also, we are showing that the irony that someone can go to an Ivy League and have highest education, but that does not make you smart or wise. That's a total different thing, right? So, in this way, I think we have seen even commercial network shows showing things that are politically not correct, or some sort of belief system which doesn't align with a particular political group. But I haven't seen on the nose saying that, okay, I'm playing a Republican, you play a Democrat. Because people might right away then, as we talked about this earlier today, people might say, oh, that's a liberal show, so I'm not going to watch it. Or people might say that's a conservative.